Why? Why have I received a letter from Ava who has passed away? I was astonished, staring at an envelope in my mailbox at home. The sender of the letter was Ava, whom we had just held the funeral for the day before. Ava had been very kind to me since the beginning of my marriage with her son, and I loved her dearly. We often dined out and enjoyed shopping together, and we were close like friends despite the age difference. Ava's sudden death left me inconsolable. Even after the funeral, I still couldn't fully accept the reality of her passing. In the midst of this, receiving a letter from Ava truly shocked me. Upon hastily reading the letter, it contained something beyond my wildest expectations. First off, the reason I received this letter was, apparently, because Ava had asked the church pastor to deliver this letter to me after her death. Then, it instructed me to open the chest at Ava's house, revealing there was even a secret compartment. The method to open this secret compartment was also carefully described. And at the end of the letter, it instructed that I must open it alone. Checking the time, I realized that it was when Ava's cohabiting family members, James, her eldest son and his kids, were out at school or elsewhere. I immediately headed to Ava's house, entered with my spare key alone, and as per her letter, opened the chest's secret compartment. Thank goodness, it opened. Relieved that it opened successfully, I checked what was inside. What is this? My name is Emma. I am 35 years old, working from home as a web designer. 5 years ago, I married Noah, 4 years older than me, whom I met through a friend's introduction, and we still have a very good relationship. However, we have not been blessed with children yet. Both of us love children and wanted to have them soon after getting married, but unfortunately, we have been unable to conceive. Previously, I was deeply troubled and depressed over not being able to have children, but there was always someone who treated me with kindness. That was Noah's mother, Ava.
Emma, don't be so hard on yourself. There's no rush. It'll be okay. How about we go to that new waffle shop in front of the station for a change of pace?
Ava always encouraged me with her warm words. Bright, kind, and empathetic. I loved her so much. Ava saved me many times, and gradually, my worries about having children decreased. While I still wish for children, we have not pursued intensive fertility treatments, preferring a natural approach instead. Noah often travels for work, so in his absence, Ava and I would go out to eat or shop, just like friends with an age gap. Ava lived close to the house where Noah and I live, in the same household as James's family, who have 3 children. Ava seemed to get along well with James's family, but James and Lily often hurled insults at us for being childless.
Emma, still no kids? We have 3 lovely children, you know? It's disgraceful not to have children. Cut ties with Ava already.
James's wife Lily said this with a triumphant look, and James joined in mocking us.
You're right, Lily. Besides, Noah has always been a nobody, and even if you had kids, they'd probably be nobodies too.
At first, Noah and I would talk back to James and Lily terrible remarks. However, they never listened to us, so gradually, we stopped responding. And we began to avoid them as much as possible. They treated us terribly, but in front of Ava, they acted like good people. So Ava never knew their true nature. We didn't want to worry Ava unnecessarily, so we never told her about their behavior. One day, Noah, Ava, and I planned to go out to eat on a holiday. When the time came, we headed to Ava's house. Usually, Ava would be waiting outside before the appointed time, but she wasn't there. What, is Ava not ready yet?
It's unusual, but she should be out soon.
We were not too concerned, as we waited for her. But even after 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, she didn't come out and didn't answer her phone. What could have happened to her? Growing increasingly anxious, we decided to ring the doorbell at her house. However, with no response, we used our spare key to enter.
Hey, Mom.
Noah called her out as he entered the house, but there was no reply from inside. With a sense of foreboding, we hurriedly searched for Ava. Then, we found her collapsed in the living room. Ava. I rushed to her side, screaming, while Noah immediately called an ambulance. It seemed the James family was out, as there was no one else in the house but Ava. The ambulance arrived in about 8 minutes, and Ava was quickly taken to the hospital, but, sadly, she passed away. It turned out to be a stroke. Noah and I could not accept her sudden departure. We cried as if our tears would never stop. But there was much to do, like preparing for the funeral. We couldn't remain saddened and withdrawn forever. The funeral was a family affair, with James, the eldest son, serving as the chief mourner. For Ava's sake, Noah and I had to proceed with the funeral preparations, coordinating with James. Yet, during the arrangements and meetings with the funeral home, I sensed an air of reluctance from James. He didn't seem to mourn Ava's death, but at the wake and funeral, he fulfilled his duties as the chief mourner, at least minimally. Still, he would soon call Noah over to talk to the relatives. After that, he would quickly leave the table, causing the relatives to glare at him disapprovingly. Moreover, during the meal after the funeral, James was the first to sit down and made no move to stand up. He simply kept drinking beer, even as Noah urged him to greet the guests. Lily was also just drinking beer beside him, so Noah and I rushed to mingle with the relatives and talk about Ava and their visits. Perhaps seeing their parents just drinking and eating, James's 3 kids were absorbed in their handheld gaming devices. They laughed and playfully nudged each other, creating an atmosphere far removed from a post-funeral gathering. None of James's family seemed to mourn Ava's death. The relatives probably sensed their attitude. They barely spoke to James and Lily, but shared farewells and memories with Noah and me. Even as the relatives' demeanor toward them starkly changed, James and his family remained unaffected. They continuously ordered beer, talked about the inheritance and planned for a trip during the morning. Despite being so cared for by Ava, in her lifetime, they were very disrespectful to her wake and funeral. I glared at James's family with contempt. The next day, Noah left early for various errands. Alone at home, I went to check the mailbox for the newspaper, and noticed an envelope inside. Who could it be from? I took out the letter, and saw it was addressed to me, with Ava as the sender. Why? Why would there be a letter from Ava? Surprised, I returned to the living room and opened the letter. It contained something I never anticipated. Apparently, Ava had arranged with the church pastor to mail this letter to me after her death. The letter mentioned opening a chest at Ava's house, how to open a secret compartment in the chest of drawers, and the contact information for a family lawyer. And finally, it instructed that I must open the chest of drawers alone. I traced Ava's letter repeatedly. She was slender, but her handwriting was large and forceful. It truly reflected her way of life, and I felt a deep sigh of relief. I looked up at the clock. 9:30. Ava's house should be empty by now. Muttering to myself, I quickly got ready and headed to her house. The kids would be at school by then, and James and Lily would have left early that day. I saw on Lily's social media earlier that she and James were going out. Despite it being the day after Ava's funeral, they seemed to be sending the kids off to school and bragging about enjoying their day off, using bereavement leave. If that post was true, there should be no one at the house. I had to go then, or I might not get another chance. Using my spare key, I opened the front door of the house and slowly entered. The absence of Ava, always there with a welcoming smile, filled me with sadness. I held back the pain in my chest as I entered Ava's room. Her chest of drawers was quite old. But perhaps because she occasionally tended to it, the chest of drawers opened smoothly. And as the letter described, I found and opened the secret compartment in the back of the chest drawer. Thank goodness, it opened. I was able to open it safely, and I let out a sigh of relief. I checked what was inside. There, along with the items mentioned in the letter, was another document. What is this? Staring at the document, I felt Ava's love and nearly broke down in tears. I wanted to stay and cry, but I needed to leave quickly. It would be bad if someone returned and saw me. Especially since Ava's letter instructed me to do this alone. After taking the documents home, I contacted the family lawyer mentioned in the letter and informed him of Ava's passing. I was about to suggest to Noah and James's family that we all meet during the weekend, but just then, I received an email. It was from Lily. She was asking for us to gather at Ava's house during the weekend for an important announcement. What could Lily possibly want to talk about? I had a bad feeling. Though skeptical, it would be odd to refuse, so I agreed to Lily's request. On that weekend, I arrived at the house with Noah and was nervous about the discussion. James and Lily had smug, unpleasant smiles, and their 3 children were not present. They were probably being looked after elsewhere. As soon as Noah and I sat down, they flaunted a document.
This is the will Ava left behind.
Lily declared loudly. The signature on the will was indeed Ava's, stating that all her assets should be inherited by James and Lily.
You see, it says here we inherit everything, so you guys won't get a penny. Too bad.
James laughed mockingly. His face was ugly with glee. Noah was perplexed, but I silently stood up and brought in the lawyer waiting outside.
Who is this?
James and Lily were confused by the sudden appearance of the lawyer. Noah was also surprised, not knowing the lawyer had been waiting. This person is the lawyer Ava had trusted. I introduced him briefly, and James and Lily's faces slowly turned from shock to anger.
A lawyer? Why did you bring one here?
Per Ava's instructions, she wanted the lawyer to help with the smooth creation of the inheritance division agreement. James and Lily loudly protested the need for a lawyer. James slammed the table again and gestured towards the will.
Mom left a will. We don't need a lawyer with this.
At that, the lawyer quietly raised his hand.
Is this document entirely written by your mother, without a doubt?
James asserted it was. The lawyer shook his head significantly at the scene.
This cannot be accepted as a will. A handwritten will must be entirely written by the person themselves.
The lawyer pointed out the word will at the beginning and Ava's signature at the end. Ava's name was written in a familiar handwriting, but the rest looked like it was printed from a computer or something. The previously noisy living room fell eerily silent. James, as if jolted, reached out for the will and brought it closer to himself. But the text remained unchanged. It's just the neat printed Gothic font.
Wait,
Suddenly, Noah pointed at James.
why is the back of the paper so clean?
Upon hearing Noah's remark, we noticed there was indeed something off about the will.
The signature part and the rest of the text have different handwriting. Could this will be forged?
The lawyer's comment made James and Lily's shoulders twitch in shock.
What are you talking about? There's no way we would do such a thing. What's with this tension? What if it was forged? What then?
Lily's words prompted the lawyer to speak.
Falsifying a will is a crime of forgery of private documents.
James and Lily turned pale. While the flustered couple blurted out incoherent excuses, the lawyer delivered a crucial piece of information.
Emma has a notarized will, so this will here is invalid.
What?
James and Lily were dumbfounded, their eyes wide.
What is that? We weren't told.
In Ava's letter to me, it was written that she had hidden the notarized will behind the secret compartment in the chest. We didn't know either. Ava told us the hiding place in the letter we received recently. The letter didn't just contain practical matters, but also why she made a notarized will and told me about it. Ava had been feeling her health declining and decided to prepare a will, suspecting that James and Lily would likely alter it. I thought Ava was completely unaware of their true nature, but it seems she had been vaguely aware of their greed. The notarized will stated that the property should be divided equally between James and Noah.
What? She prepared something like this.
James and Lily were stunned. Then James suddenly shouted, his face lighting up with realization.
Wait, but the beneficiary of Mom's life insurance is me. Right, it should go to me, the eldest son.
While James was shouting with glittering eyes, I told him in a cold voice. In addition to the notarized will, Ava also entrusted me with the life insurance policy. The beneficiary is me. Inside the secret compartment of the chest drawers, there was not only the notarized will, but also the life insurance policy. James and Lily stared incredulously at the notarized will and life insurance policy.
I didn't hear about this. I knew nothing of this.
Changes to the beneficiary of a life insurance policy don't necessarily notify the original beneficiary, so that's to be expected.
James slammed the table, claiming ignorance, but the lawyer's factual reply cut through his words sharply.
When did Mom entrust you with all this? Emma, I knew nothing. Did she not want to tell me?
Noah asked me anxiously. I smiled at Noah and explained. Ava wrote it in her letter. She wanted to tell you too, but moving together would have raised the risk of James and Lily catching on, so she entrusted it to me alone.
That makes sense. Mom and you were really close after all.
While Noah and I were talking, Lily screamed hysterically.
I can accept this. Why should her assets go to you, who never even showed her any grandkids? This is outrageous. I can accept this at all.
That's right. You childless ingrates have no right to Mom's assets. We lived with her just for the inheritance, to split it equally. What a joke. The inheritance should all be ours.
James yelled, his face flushed with anger. Lily continued her selfish rant.
We have 3 kids, you know? You should give up her inheritance to us, for our kids' future, as compensation for not showing her any grandkids. We, who could show her 3 grandkids, are hundreds of times more deserving than you. So the inheritance should all be ours.
Unfazed by Lily's outburst, I remained calm and stated firmly. What you're saying is all over the place. Please calm down a bit. Lily didn't seem to like my composed demeanor and lunged at me while screaming.
I hate your smug attitude. Just hand over the money, you childless, useless woman.
Noah and the lawyer intervened quickly, but Lily struck me in the head with her fist faster than they could react. Ouch. Her hand had several large rings on it, which felt like brass knuckles, causing me to cry out from the dull pain.
Stop it.
While Noah and the lawyer pulled Lily away, she was still agitated and reached out for me again.
Hand over the inheritance. I should get it all because I have 3 kids.
Lily's eyes were bloodshot, her face twisted in fury.
Go on, hit her more.
James egged Lily on, and infuriated Noah called the police. Soon after, the police arrived, and Noah and the lawyer explained the situation. James and Lily were then taken away by the police. Left behind, Noah and I thanked the lawyer and decided to send him home for the day. It was supposed to be just a meeting to discuss the creation of the inheritance division agreement, but it turned into a complete mess. We agreed to apologize to him later on. Noah was very concerned about me being hit by Lily, but I assured him that the pain in my head had completely gone, and he seemed relieved. Reflecting on the intense situation, I muttered, "What an intense period this has been." Then Noah mentioned something odd to me.
You know, Lily always seemed to overly flaunt her kids, bragging about how great she is for showing 3 grandkids to mom. Don't you think she's too greedy about money?
Indeed, Lily had always boasted about her children, and her obsession with money earlier was extreme. Well, yes, Ava intended to divide the inheritance equally, yet Lily wanted it all, which is abnormal. Her face when she hit me was terrifying.
That's what I thought too. It's definitely abnormal.
Noah then fell silent, lost in thought. "What's wrong? Is something bothering you?" I asked him, unable to understand what he was implying.
Yay, I've been thinking, maybe we should suggest a DNA test for James's 3 kids.
I was surprised at Noah's suggestion. DNA testing?
Yes, and I'm thinking of proposing a background check on Lily too. It's just a hunch, but something feels off.
Although, I thought it might be too much, Noah's instincts had often been right before. Okay, if you say so, we should suggest it to James. Later, when Noah brought it up to James, he reportedly ridiculed Noah and yelled at him.
Just because you don't have kids, don't suspect ours.
But at the end of the confrontation, James snatched the DNA testing information from Noah, as if stealing it. Perhaps James had his suspicions as well. The first results to come back were James and his children's DNA tests. It was revealed that the second and the youngest sons were not biologically related to James.
I suspected the youngest because he didn't resemble either parent much, but the second son too.
Noah was speechless. Perhaps finally facing the truth, James thoroughly investigated Lily's background. The findings were damning. Lily had been involved with multiple men even before marrying James. And recently, the truth had been discovered by the wives of her lovers, who then demanded compensation. Lily, being home more often than James, had meticulously hidden the certified mail and other evidence. The total demanded in compensation far exceeded what Lily could cover with her earnings or savings. Lily must have been desperate to secure Ava's inheritance for herself. As expected, James and Lily ended up in a violent altercation, throwing objects and brawling until they were both bleeding. Neighbors, unable to stand the noise, called the police. Eventually, the police arrived and took them both into custody. They were already facing charges for forging Ava's will, and now they added assault to their crimes. Further investigation by the police revealed more misdemeanors, including theft and stalking wealthy individuals. Eventually, James and Lily were sent to prison. Concerned about the future of the 3 children, Noah and I debated what to do. With Ava gone, we were their closest relatives. We considered taking them in but ultimately decided against. Unfortunately, the children had fully absorbed their parents' negative attitudes, blatantly calling us childless and incompetent. The eldest, Tom, being 14, certainly knew right from wrong, and even the youngest, at 7, should understand basic decency. Yet, every time they met us, all 3 of them would smirk and hurl insults. It seems their mindset didn't change, even though their parents were arrested, and they were in the middle of that trouble.
I wouldn't mind being raised by you, childless losers.
The 14-year-old, Tom, taunted us. It was something I never expected to hear. Hearing such words made it impossible for me to feel any love or hope of raising them to be decent individuals. Ultimately, we contacted Lily's parents and decided to cease all contact with the kids. It seemed the children understood our firm decision.
If it's between staying with you childless incompetence and grandma's run-down place, the latter is better.
So I guess it was for the best. We haven't told the children that two of them are not biologically related to James. Whether or not the truth would be revealed to them will be up to James and Lily's relatives. Noah and I decided to use the inheritance left by Ava as a financial resource to move to a new place far away. It was a location rich in nature with plenty of greenery, where both of us quickly felt at home. There's a charming waffle shop near our new home, which always makes me think of how much Ava would have loved to visit if she was with us. Not long after moving, I finally became pregnant. The positive result on the pregnancy test made me scream in surprise and joy. After visiting the OB/GYN for confirmation, we were told without a doubt that I was pregnant. We cried tears of joy as we embraced each other. Ava would have been so happy for us. Also, the business venture I had been secretly planning is progressing well. Noah and I are working hard for our upcoming child, enjoying fulfilling and